Coming up.
Can you be over-friendly?
Hang on, this is your comfort zone.
I apologise if I've offended anybody.
Except that he didn't pause, Mark.
I genuinely thought you were going to find that much more difficult than you did.
That is one of my favourite wildcards we've done.
Reading it off a screen is a lot more difficult.
I didn't go in like a bull in a china shop like I normally do.
Well, she's quite small.
It'll be very quick, promise you.
It actually makes it so exciting.
The joy of being able to sight read.
On that bombshell.
And now, enjoy the podcast.
How do you say that?
How do you say that?
How do you say that?
How do you say that? Hello and welcome to today's episode of How Do You Say That, sponsored by BritishVoiceover.co.uk. Now, every week we set out to prove there's more than just one way to read a script. And if you're a voiceover artist, director, actor, podcaster, anyone who uses a mic professionally, then this is the podcast for you. Let me introduce my co-host, Sam Boffin. Hi, Sam.
Hello. Hello.
Now, today's fun fact about Sam is that she once accidentally tipped red wine over the comedian Jim Davidson.
I did. Yeah, and he was wearing a white suit at the time.
Oh,
and
no.
It was literally minutes before. Well, minutes. It was about half an hour before he was meant to go on
God.
and do a show.
What was his reaction?
Actually, to be fair, I'm not the biggest fan, but he was charming. I think he knew that wardrobe would probably be able to come up trumps. He must have a dozen white suits in there. It was a long, long time ago, though. Anyway, my co-host is Mark Rice, who is getting a new-ish car this week because the old one's gearbox gave up the ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, newish car is the good news out of this
Newish.
story. Paying $3,000 for a gearbox to then hand it back to the garage is not so much fun. No. Not so much fun at all, frankly. But there we go. Let's put that financial pain to one side, shall we? Well, of course, we also have a special guest who this week is Danny Cowan. Hello, Danny.
Hello.
Hello.
It's lovely to
How
have
are
you
you?
on. Yeah, good.
It's lovely to be on. And I'm so sorry because I am a bit useless and you have been asking me to do this for years. So, yeah, sorry.
To be fair, we've been trying to get you on for a long time, so I'm really glad that we found the time.
I'm here.
Hooray! So for the best part of 20 years, Danny has been a regular on your TV. He's been warning of strong language and scenes of a sexual nature. He's probably best known for his cheeky Northern Irish charm and tongue-in-cheek announcements on E4 and Channel 4, and more recently, BBC Wales, going on to win the Best Announcer Award at the One Voice Awards 3 years. Let's hear that again. 3 years running.
Well, he started his career with BBC Radio Ulster, had a stint broadcasting in Cyprus before moving to work for the BBC in London on everything from Chucklevision to The Death of Diana before working full-time for Radio 1. He's also appeared on Sky and Netflix and recorded many commercials for everything from Argos to Sainsbury's, Asda and many more. Danny, have you got a fun fact that you can share with us?
Well, following on from Sam's fun fact, I've got two fun facts now. So it'll be very quick, promise you. Okay, so the first fun fact is that I once stood on Lulu.
Well, she's quite small.
She's very small.
Where, when, how?
It was at the time I was working for Radio 1 and we had this party for us all. And and Lulu was at the bar. I may have had one or two drinks and accidentally stood on her.
Amazing.
At which point she yelped.
Oh, no, yeah.
The other one is I have had Boy George sing down the phone to me.
Oh.
What, and why?
I was working in Ibiza at the time for a production company called Wise Buddha and also for Radio 1. And I was kind of looking after Boy George, and he was in his villa. And he was writing this West End musical called Taboo. And he decided one day that he wanted to try out one of the songs and just rang me in my villa and sang it down the phone to me.
Wow.
I don't think that happens very often to people, so I thought,
no.
that's a bit different, isn't it? So
on that note.
On that bombshell.
On that Boy George bombshell. Let's have a look at our first script of the show and ask, how do you say that?
How do you say that?
So this is something I have been working on recently. Guys, got any questions?
It looks like an audio guide to me.
It is an audio guide, absolutely.
Okay.
I say it's an audio guide. It was in a museum. It's a fixed audio guide.
So it's for visitors to listen to.
It is. As I say, yes, the word medieval crops up a couple of times. It is absolutely all about medieval iconography. Whoop-hoo!
That is a difficult phrase, and I notice it's in there. It's like,
Yeah,
Yes.
it is quite a few times. Yeah.
Yes.
well, Danny, you can rest for a moment because you don't have to go first. It's all good.
Thank goodness.
Oh.
She makes me go first on these ones.
Oh, right, okay. Good luck with that.
Okay, well, I'll give it a go. Okay. This open-mouthed gargoyle statue on a corner of Paris's Notre Dame Cathedral is often considered to be an icon or visual shorthand for what we associate with the medieval. Though many aspects of the surviving building are in fact medieval, the gargoyles are not. They were added during a 19th century restoration as a practical architectural feature. They may have included water spouts or something to redirect water runoff from the building. Though they don't belong to the iconography of Christianity, they have become emblematic of the building's character.
Nice. Do you know what I was particularly impressed about? You made a
Go on.
mistake and you actually corrected yourself in it to make it sound right.
I thought I had to, yes. I went from plural to singular quite quickly, yes.
I noticed that too. I was very impressed. Well done.
The joy of being able to sight read.
Yeah, exactly. No, I have to say, what I loved about that, Mark, is that you were quite low key on it.
I didn't go in like a bull in a china shop like I normally do.
You were nicely low key, I thought, actually.
Okay.
I thought it was very good. I thought I liked your style. Your pace was very good. As you know, with announcers and people who work in television, we usually have to speak very quickly to
Very
time
quickly.
and things like that. So yeah, it was nicely paced. Which I probably won't do myself, but yeah.
As a listener to the podcast, Danny, you know I constantly get told off for going too fast and too hard, and that probably is from 20 years in continuity.
That's exactly what it is, and I suffer the same thing, especially, I've had to do some narration for Netflix recently, and I've listened back to it and I've gone, I'm far too fast, I need to slow down,
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just one of those things because you're trying to get, whenever you're on the telly speaking live, you want to get everything out of the way as quickly as possible because you've got to hit these points as well. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now you get a go, and now
Oh,
you've
God.
given yourself that note.
Yeah.
You might consciously go a bit slower.
Okay, I'll try. Yeah. This open-mouthed gargoyle statue on the corner of Paris's Notre Dame Cathedral is often considered to be an icon, or visual shorthand for what we associate with the medieval. Though many aspects of the surviving building are, in fact, medieval, the gargoyles are not. They were added during a 19th century restoration as practical architectural features that may have included water spouts or something to redirect water runoff from the building. Though they don't even belong to the iconography of Christianity, they become emblematic of the building's character.
Very good.
Nice. You sped up towards the end. And I think as we came across iconography, because that's one that we just wanted to power through because it's a horrible word.
Get it out of the way.
Yeah.
I think you did speed up a little bit. But it began as a beautiful pace, Sam, didn't it?
It did. Really, really lovely paste. It was great. I mean, funny enough, one of the things I was told off for, I was a bit big when I delivered it. And
Okay.
they wanted me to come right down. It was a very, very much gentler than I was expecting delivery.
The nice thing about Danny's delivery, of course, that incredible Northern Irish accent is so warm.
Absolutely.
And it's really lovely.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
I wish more people thought that.
It actually makes it so exciting, is what, and particularly that, which had an awful lot of just tricky words in it. But I loved it.
Danny, how did you feel with the gargoyle script? Was it one where you were looking at some of those words and thinking, oh God, it's coming up, it's coming up, it's coming up?
Absolutely, and I think it's one of the problems that I have. I'm dyslexic as well, so what I do is the way I work it is I read a script and I will try and memorize it. So I know whenever those words are coming up.
Oh my God, that must
and
have been
I know
hellish
that they're the
then.
ones that will cause me problems, and that's probably where I'll speed up a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, whenever I see things like this, I'm like, oh, and this is not my comfort zone. I'm used to saying things that sound natural and chatty.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and this is the problem. It's such a formally written script, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
It really is, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay, Sam,
Okay.
your chance to show us how it really was
how,
done.
How it's
I
really
did
done.
it. How I did it. That's not necessarily how it's really done. Two very different things.
You got paid for it. It's how it was really done.
Absolutely.
This open-mouthed gargoyle statue on a corner of Paris's Notre Dame Cathedral is often considered to be an icon or visual shorthand for what we associate with the medieval. Though many aspects of the surviving building are in fact medieval, the gargoyles are not. They were added during a 19th century restoration as practical architectural features. They may have included water spouts or something to redirect water runoff from the building. Though they don't even belong to the iconography of Christianity, they have become emblematic of the building's character.
That's very warm. What I really loved was the gargoyles are not. You were very much, oh, hey, everyone, this is different.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, you made it sound more like an actual story, which is exactly what we're supposed to do, isn't it? So
I agree that the formality and the words in it make it just feel so difficult to wade through. Mm-hmm. And of course, this is in the middle of it, so it is slightly unfair because by the time I got to this bit, I was kind of fairly at home with the madness of the medieval stuff that I was talking about.
Play, how do you say that? Well, it is worthwhile remembering that these are real scripts we've been working on, but we've changed names and some details to avoid copyright issues. So, Danny, from the world of continuity, you have done what we kind of thought you would. You have brought a continuity script with you.
I have indeed. This was from January.
Okay.
And it's coming off the back of EastEnders. Well-known programme.
Yep.
That's the very one. And so, you've also got to be well aware of what's happening at the end of the programme to sort of be able to pick up off it.
And do you get to watch the last minute or so of the programme so that you know what's happened?
We get to watch the whole programme.
Oh, nice.
So, it's a new feature, I believe, with the BBC. With Channel 4, we've been able to do that for a very long time. But, we basically we can watch all the programmes, which makes such a difference because if you're picking up of something that you haven't seen or you don't know what's happening in the programme and you just suddenly smash into something talking about something else, it's just going to sound horrible.
And so the credits are rolling at the side and...
They are indeed, yes. Then there's a little gap and then you'll see what will happen then. If you're watching it on the telly, I leave a little gap and I move the graphic. So the graphics will be for The Traitors and for Gladiator.
Yep.
But I sort of left a little gap so that I can stick a little bit in before that.
And Danny, are you in control of when that move happens?
I am, yes.
You see, because when I was doing continuity, I was never in control of when it happened. So that was writing to time to actually see that move happen as well.
Well, with the BBC, I'm an announcer director, so I basically have control over everything. So if it falls off, it's my fault.
Have you had time to rehearse that watching the end credits, or is it timed and you just have to kind of go for it?
Well, although I can watch the end of the programme, it depends on where the programme's coming from. If I'm playing it locally from Wales... I can view the graphics and everything like that and rehearse it as many times as I like. But with things like EastEnders, they're what's known as network programmes. So they'll come from London or Salford, and we can't actually see the end of it because obviously it's getting played out from there. But what I can do is I can look at the graphics to see how they sort of come up on the screen, and then just hope that it all works out okay.
Fascinating.
A lot of it is a lot of luck, really. So, yeah.
It's so complicated, continuity. Think I was just speaking between the programmes.
They do.
And there's so much to it, so many different aspects that you've got to be really good at.
The thing is that you're there to be the voice of the channel. You're there to represent BBC One or E4 or Channel 4 or whatever it is you're doing. And, you can do that in a friendly way without being a person, if you get me.
Right. Okay, Sam. I'm going to get you to go first on this one. So friendly, informal, chatty.
Right, okay.
And how many seconds do you reckon, Danny? 28 max?
EastEnders, I'm trying to remember what it is. I think it's 31 seconds I think we've got on this. Okay. So it's quite lengthy, actually. So this script is quite short for that amount of time. So, yeah.
Good luck, Sam.
Thanks. Now, I think that's what we call spilling the tea. Find out if it gets cleaned up tomorrow at 7:30. And talking of spilling the tea, could Diane's drinking from the poisoned chalice mean the death of her? Well, if you think EastEnders is dramatic, I don't think you'll be able to handle The Traitors tonight at 9. But If beefy people in lycra is more your thing, you might want to press red to watch Gladiators on iPlayer.
There was a very much I'm letting you into a secret here sound about that.
Yeah, I've got such a boring voice for this sort of thing.
I would never say that.
Don't say that. That's a terrible thing to say.
No, but, it's just that, I suppose you build up a personality, don't you, and that kind of thing. I just think I sound a bit square.
I think the thing is that you've got to also remember the channel that you're on.
Exactly.
So your personality changes with the channel. So, for example, on E4, it would be a completely different script with completely different words. And,
yes, exactly.
And a completely different style of doing it. Whereas, for 4/7 or more 4 or channel 4...
Yeah, I would probably be all right on Really or Drama or those sort of channels, but nobody would pick me to do E4. I'm far. Do you know what I mean? It's just they'd be mad.
I think it was very good. I think your pace was good. I liked your way of trying to let us into a secret thing. I think it was maybe a little storytelling, though, if you get me.
Yes.
Rather than chatty.
It's interesting because, of course, if I wrote for me, I would write the script that I would. So it's this is such a personal script.
Absolutely.
So it's really interesting, isn't it?
And I think that's what you've got to bear in mind because we write all of our own scripts. And in the nations, we get a copy of the network scripts. And 9 times out of 10, we'll just rewrite them to our own words because there's no use trying to read someone else's words whenever you're trying to make something sound personal. Yeah. So, it's definitely, these are definitely my words and the way that I would say them. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Right, okay, let me have a go and let's see what I do with it. After the doofs. Does anyone want to do the doofs?
Go on then. Doof, 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 doof.
Now, I think that's what we call spilling the tea. Find out if it gets cleaned up tomorrow at 7:30. And talking of spilling the tea, could Diane's drinking from the poisoned chalice mean the death of her? Well, if you think EastEnders is dramatic, I don't think you'll be able to handle The Traitors tonight at 9. But if beefy people in lycra is more your thing, you might want to press red to watch Gladiators on iPlayer.
Fabulous.
Possibly a little over-friendly, I think.
A little over-friendly? Is there such a thing?
Can you be over-friendly?
Maybe a little too smiley?
Maybe that's what I meant.
It's a very sort of fine line between chatty and smiley. And this is a personal gripe that I have, and apologies if anybody does this, but the people who read scripts and smile, whenever they make it sound as if they're smiling through all the words, and I'm just going, no. No, stop it. It's just a personal gripe. I apologise if I've offended anybody.
No.
The thing in continuity that I noticed myself doing, and I remember doing it, it's kind of muscle memory from years of doing continuity, is you hit certain words in a sentence because you write it in that way and you hit certain words. Dramatic, handle, drinking, all of that is really an obvious way of doing continuity. And I don't think that's changed over the years particularly.
No, and again, this is all down to time as well, because you've got to get these things out so quickly, and the graphics are so limited that you've only got a certain amount of time to get as much information in within 7 seconds. Yeah. So it's really, really tight of the way that you do have to do the. I won't say that I get it right all the time because I don't. It's live TV, so so you do mess up quite a lot. But that's just one of the things of trying to speed read and trying to make sure that you're spinning the plates and everything all at the same time. Yeah.
All right, Danny, give us your interpretation of it.
God, I'm actually nervous now.
Hang on, this is your comfort zone.
I know this is
the audience
really
of 2 that you've got right now.
I think I'm probably more nervous about this one than I was the first. All right then, so off the doofs. No, I think that's what we call spilling the tea. Find out if it gets cleaned up tomorrow at 7:30. And talking of spilling the tea, could Diane's drinking from the poisoned chalice mean the death of her? Well, if you think EastEnders is dramatic, I don't think you'll be able to handle The Traitors. That's tonight's at 9. But if beefy people in lycra is more your thing, you might want to press red to watch The Gladiators on iPlayer.
Wow, that was fast.
That was great.
That really was pacey, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Great
And
stuff.
you nicely blew through all. Well,
Yeah.
you blew through all the punctuation that you put in, but presumably the punctuation that you put in is punctuation that you read in that way.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
So in the BBC, I read a script off a screen.
Yep.
But in Channel 4, I have a printed out one.
Interesting.
And in Channel 4, I have scribbles all over it, which sort of helps with the
Yep.
pace and everything like that, and hitting certain words at certain times and knowing where to pause. And reading it off a screen is a lot more difficult, I
Yep.
find.
Especially when the screen disappears halfway through the message.
Yes, that
And
doesn't
that
help
happens,
either.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
indeed.
Oh, yes.
Your use of ellipses is interesting. So you use the ... as a pause there, and I do that because I think that is a natural speech pattern.
Yeah, except that he didn't pause, Mark.
No, he didn't actually.
Oh, did I not? Oh, sorry.
No, that's what I found so interesting, was that it was there, but in fact you blew through it.
I think I don't even know whether the punctuation that I put in is to slow me down. I don't know what it is, but whenever I'm writing it, it sort of makes sense. So
It's a
whenever
different thought. It's a different half sentence. It's almost a different thought each time you see an ellipses.
Yeah, I think that's possibly what it is. Again, there's no reason or thought behind it. It just happens naturally with me now, I suppose. So, yeah.
The one thing that we know is that people who've never thought about continuity listening to this will now hear it in a completely different way.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, they don't realise that we do it live. They don't realise that we write our own scripts. They don't realise that some of us also push the buttons as well. So, yeah, there's a lot of work to it. And it's quite... although I've been doing it for 20 years, I'm still quite nervous doing it because there's so much that could go wrong, and we outside broadcasts, everything like that, it could go very badly wrong as well. So yeah.
How do you say that? Well, now here's the moment we love, the wildcard section. Let's see if we can approach these scripts in a completely different way. Danny, can you pick one of the scripts for Sam and give her a character and maybe an action or a motivation?
Okay, so let's go with script 2.
Oh, let's.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go with script 2 then. And then, I think I can picture Sam doing this.
Go on then.
Do it as a Radio 4 continuity announcer coming up to the pips.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I reckon Radio 4 continuity leave oodles of time. That's my excuse anyway. Right. Okay. So... Now, I think that's what we call spilling the tea. Find out if it gets cleaned up tomorrow at 7:30. And talking of spilling the tea, could Diane's drinking from the poison chalice mean the death of her? Well, if you think EastEnders is dramatic, I don't think you'll be able to handle the traitors tonight at 9. But... if beefy people in Lycra is more your thing, you might want to press red to watch Gladiators on iPlayer. I mistimed it.
Yes, mistimed the bit. I love that because you started very, very evenly, just as Radio 4 would. And I could see that you had one eye on the clock. Amazing. I like it.
Perfect.
I don't know. God knows what they'd do.
But actually, you brought a very Radio 4 even feel to it.
The hilarious thing about that is you just cannot imagine that they would write in that way.
No.
Yeah. Can you imagine them saying, talking of spilling the tea? No.
Spilling the tea?
No,
it's not going to happen, is it?
Now, Danny, I'm going to suggest one for you, but I'm going to try and put you in your comfort zone, but bring you out of it.
Oh,
Okay, if that makes sense. I'm going to go for the gargoyle script.
No, you
I
can't
knew
do
you
that.
would.
I can, but
You just can't.
I would like you to transpose that as if it were a continuity announcement.
Oh, okay. So rewrite it.
Be the character. Well, talk around it so that is the end of a program in your kind of style. So I'm giving you the easy bit, but it's just a difficult thing for the script to do. I'm just wondering how you would approach it.
Leave out great chunks is how I would approach it.
Well, absolutely, because that's longer than I usually have to talk at all. So that's
Exactly.
yeah.
It's overwritten, quite frankly, for continuity.
Very much so, isn't it?
I'm
Yes.
thinking Danny style, but with
Okay.
something that you just would not read.
Right then, let's try this. And tomorrow night at 9, there are open-mouthed gargoyles on the corner of Paris' Notre Dame Cathedral. But what's it all about? Kevin MacLeod will be in his element. Find out tomorrow night at 9.
Yes! That was so good. So good.
You just got to...
Frankly, it's
I
all
don't know
it
what
needs
that
in the
was like,
first
but-
place, isn't it?
How you did that off the top of your head, I'm not quite sure, but that was very
neither
clever.
am I.
That was very clever. Of course, tying it into grand designs. What a clever idea. What a clever idea.
Let's talk about the gargoyles. What's it all about?
There we go. It's about buildings, isn't it? Kevin MacLeod.
I genuinely thought you were going to find that much more difficult than you did. Well
Oh,
done.
no, I did. Trust me.
That is one of my favourite wildcards we've done.
The question is, how do I get to follow that? Because Sam, I don't know what she's going to suggest.
Well, do you know, I think I want you to do script 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I want you to be a quantity surveyor.
Okay.
You're a building surveyor. He's giving information back to a very, very elderly client.
Oh.
Up to you whether you want them to buy the place or not. I don't care.
Okay.
Explaining the building.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's give it a go. This open-mouth gargoyle statue on the corner of Paris's Notre Dame Cathedral is often considered to be an icon, visual shorthand for what we associate to be the medieval. Although many aspects of the building are in fact medieval, you see those those gargoyles are not. They're not. They were added during the 19th century restoration as practical architectural features. Look up, water spouts. It redirects the water runoff from the building. They've become emblematic of the building's character now.
That was very good. Can I just say, I thought you did a great
really
job
good.
there. Yeah. I like the way that you made him sound a bit like Cockney as well.
Yeah.
Just
I like
kind of
I like the
lapsed
fact
there.
you were really tetchy. Yeah.
I was quite tetchy.
Tetchy.
Well, if you want to play along in the privacy of your own booth, we have put both of those scripts in the show notes so you can have a try yourselves. And if you've never tried continuity before, have a go with Danny's script.
Absolutely. You need to do that. So actually staying in the continuity place, our question this week is, what's your backup plan if it all goes wrong?
Oh, so like when the picture falls off.
Yeah. Well, you see, this is the thing. So I'm trying to think of examples now. On E4, we moved over to a new what's called a play-out system, and basically that's the system that keeps the channel on air. It plays out the next program, it plays out the adverts, it plays out the idents and everything like that. And we lost that one time, and they give you very little notice of when these things are going to fall off air as well. So, yeah, you don't really have a backup plan most of the time. And this is the problem, because you just open the mic and just say whatever comes into your head. And I think that we were broadcasting Big Brother at the time, and I came off the back of it and I said, as Sir Elton John said, sorry seems to be the hardest word. As you can see, things aren't going quite according to plan here. I'd love to tell you what's coming up next, but I don't know. As I had people screaming into my ear going, we're going to France.
Oh, how funny. How funny.
So, yeah, I think I had about 6 different programs in that junction, which I didn't know I was going to. And we ended up going back to Big Brother or something like that. So, yeah, you can have so many backup plans. You can have so many scripts prepared.
Yeah.
You know that you'll never use them, because the one time that you don't have a script prepared is the one time it'll go wrong. So I don't bother anymore. So it's the best way to do it, really.
Danny, both when I was at BFBS television and at Challenge doing it live, the one thing that I would make sure that I had to hand was the programme listing.
Always a good one.
But as you say, you don't necessarily know if the next programme or the next programme or the next programme is going to work either.
Nope.
If something's gone wrong.
We used to have what's called the Radio Times, obviously, whenever we were doing these kind of things.
I think it's still called the Radio Times.
Oh, yes, it is. And it's still available. And other listings magazines are available as well. Yeah, so we used to have a copy of the Radio Times in the booth with us, which would be really handy, because then you could just look at them and you could read things out from that. It's obviously all online now, so you can get it all, on a screen in front of you. There's also times when things go really wrong. So the death of Michael Jackson, I know you probably don't want to hear this, but the night that Michael Jackson died, we had a program on Channel 4 called TNT Show. And we had a sketch on the end of that program about Michael Jackson.
Oh, dear.
And so we had this frantic phone call from the head of comedy telling us to pull the program. So we were in the process of moving away to the broadcast centre from Channel 4, and there was only me and one other person in the building, so they pulled the programme, and I was just there going, really sorry, can't tell you why they've pulled the programme. But we pulled the programme, and I hope you. I think at one point I said, I hope you enjoy this flying 4 because you're going to have it for the next 2 minutes and 57 seconds.
So you had the backup ident at least. So
we did have the breakdown sort of thing saying we can't continue with the programme, but that's it. And then the Radio Times didn't save me that night because for the rest of the night, Channel 4 was showing something like Japanese cinema. Or something like that. So I couldn't really point because I didn't really know anything about the programme, so I couldn't really point them either. I think at one point I was just talking. I was just going, "Hope you're enjoying this." Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
It just goes to show that even with the best laid plans, you never know what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
Oh, Danny, thank you so much for coming on the show. All of Danny Cowan's details and social media stuff and things can be found in the show notes.
Yes, and we will also be putting today's scripts in the show notes exactly as they were written so that you can have a read yourself.
Yeah.
So please do like and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode, and feel free to give us a review if you feel moved to do so.
Okay, that's it for this week. Thank you, Danny. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Really enjoyed it.
Pleasure.
We'll be back next week with more scripts and another voiceover guest when we'll be asking, and we do this bit all together now.
How do you say that?
How do you say that?